Hi, everyone. I'm Pat Fingeroth, the past chair of the Center for Pastoral Education Advisory Board, and it's a special joy to welcome all of you today. Our very first luncheon took place in 2016, and this annual event remains the only fundraiser to directly support the critical work of the center, training students of all religious traditions to provide care to individuals and families in physical, spiritual, and emotional crisis. Time and again, we hear from alumni about how CPE has impacted their work, that it is one of the most important things they did in rabbinical school. Thank you so much for joining us today as we honor an extraordinary individual, Rabbi Alvin Kass. Rabbi Kass serves as chief chaplain of the NYPD and the longest serving police officer on the NYPD. And can you guess where he was ordained? Rabbi Alvin Kass is an outstanding alum of our very own JTS Rabbinical School. Is the police commissioner here? Okay. Well, we will be very privileged to welcome NYPD Police Commissioner Jessica Tish, who will share words of tribute. Last year at this time, we learned about some exciting new center initiatives in the works, CPE at camp, plus the launch of an in-person and distance learning Masters in Spiritual Care and Counseling. I'm happy to report that under the creative leadership of Rabbi Naomi Kalish, the director of the center, both have been realized, and we're going to hear further about them during today's program and so much more. In fact, we're in for a special treat, a panel discussion featuring some of the students from the new Innovative Masters program who will share their inspiring work. A special thank you to Janie Schneider, our Director of Special Events, for your planning. Where is she? For your planning and executing this very meaningful day. And a great big thank you to the members of our advisory board, all of whom serve on our event committee and who join me in extending our heartfelt thanks to all of you for celebrating Rabbi Kass and the center, thereby partnering with us, enabling us to sustain and strengthen this important program. Given these trying times, I think we'll all agree it's needed now more than ever. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce Benjamin Gelber, President of the NYPD Sham Society. Sham Society is the official organization of Jewish members of the NYPD, and he will lead us in a motzi. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. Distinguished clergy, commissioners, fellow Sham member, and honored guest. I'm Lieutenant Benjamin Gelber, and I'm here as the president of the NYPD Sham Society. It's truly an honor to stand before you today as a member of this incredible department, as a proud part of the NYPD Sham Society, and as someone deeply grateful for the traditions and people who have shaped my journey. The story of the Sham Society began over a century ago in 1924 when a group of brave, trailblazing Jewish officers came together with a simple but powerful vision to create a space where they could serve both the city and their faith with pride. At a time when Jewish identity was not always welcomed in the workplace, they built a foundation of brotherhood, community, and spiritual strengths. Shomer means guardians in Hebrew, and that's exactly what the organization has been. We are the guardians of public safety, yes, but also the guardians of tradition, faith, and of each other. Through times of war, civil unrest, rising anti-Semitism, and the many challenges of modern policing, the Sham Society has remained a constant source of unity, resilience, and inspiration for generations of Jewish police officers. The NYPD Sham Society is dedicated to serving both its members and the broader community through a wide range of charitable and cultural initiatives. Our work includes philanthropy. We support numerous charitable causes, serving both our members of the Jewish community and beyond, reflecting our commitment to compassion, service, and justice. We have a Passover food distribution each year. We organize and distribute Passover food packages to families in need across New York City, ensuring that everyone can observe the holiday with dignity and tradition. We also host and participate in events celebrating Jewish holidays such as Hanukkah and promote heritage, unity, and among all members of the NYPD. But no history of the Sham Society is complete without speaking of the man who has been the heart and soul of our spiritual life for nearly 6 decades, Rabbi Dr. Alvin Kass. Rabbi Kass has been a chaplain since 1966, the longest-serving chaplain in NYPD history, a 3-star chief, something no other chaplain in any department across the country has achieved. But beyond his title, beyond his impressive service record, what truly defines Rabbi Kass is his unwavering commitment to us, not just as police officers, but as human beings. He's walked with us in joy and in grief. He stood beside us and our families, prayed with us in times of crisis, and reminded us again and again that our service is not only a job, but a sacred duty. And for me, it's personal. Rabbi Kass didn't just advise me through my career. He didn't just inspire me with his sermons or comfort me during hard times. He stood with me at one of the most important moments of my life. Rabbi Kass officiated my wedding. To have someone, thank you. To have someone I respect and adore so deeply, someone who has given so much to our department and our community, bless my marriage, was an honor I will carry with me forever. His words were wise, heartfelt, and full of love. That day wasn't just a ceremony. It was a continuation of everything Shamrim stands for: faith, family, commitment, and purpose. Rabbi Kass, you're not only our spiritual advisor. You've been a father figure, a role model, and a constant source of light. You've helped shape what it means to be a Jewish police officer in the NYPD, and you've helped remind everybody of our faith, our badge, that are not separate and deeply connected. So today we celebrate you, your legacy, your impact, and your devotion to all of us. On behalf of everyone, thank you. Thank you for your leadership, your guidance, and your love. Thank you for blessing our lives, and in my case, literally blessing the most important day of my life. May we continue to walk proudly in the path you've helped light for our community, our department, and for the generations to come. Thank you, and God bless each and every one of you. I guess we'll go through the motion. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth. And now I am pleased to introduce Chancellor Schwartz. Thank you.
Okay, want to add my words of welcome to all of you to this luncheon today. Especially want to welcome Commissioner Tisch. Thank you for joining us. As we celebrate the Center for Pastoral Education and honor Chief Chaplain Rabbi Alvin Kass. To set the stage for this honoring today, I would, of course, like to begin with some words of Torah from the weekly cycle of Torah portions. In synagogues all over the world, we are now reading from the book of Numbers, which chronicles Israel's journey from the wilderness of Sinai to the edge of the Promised Land. God oversees the journey by guiding the people through the wilderness and providing for their needs. God's constant presence is made manifest by, we don't really know how to describe it, a cloud-encased pillar of fire that hovers over the people of Israel. When the pillar rested, the Israelites encamped. And when the pillar moved, Israel decamped and followed. God, by means of that pillar, led the way. The Sifrei, a classic work of Jewish legal exegesis, biblical exegesis, probes the question of whether everyone was protected by this pillar. What if one of the Israelites withdrew from being right under that pillar under the cloud? Would they forfeit God's protection? We know from elsewhere in the Bible that people, for example, suffering from tsarat, from leprosy, had to isolate outside the camp for 7 days. Have they lost God's protection? One might think this would be the case, but the Sifrei insists that the cloud covered and protected even the lame and the blind, those afflicted with a discharge, and lepers. This midrash wants to reassure us that God protects everyone, even the most isolated and marginalized, even the most feared members of society. How appropriate this message is for us today as we honor the work of pastoral care. Pastoral care is about many things, but first and foremost, it's about presence, being there for and with people in difficult times, just as the pillar was always there for the Israelites. It is also about accompanying people through all of life's journey, helping them tell the stories of their lives, the stories that provide them with meaning and support, helping to ensure that they never feel unloved or alone. Those who dedicate themselves to pastoral care channel the example of the divine by being with people as God was with the Israelites, especially the vulnerable ones, like those listed in the Midrash, those who may feel alienated and doubtful that others care. But can humans follow in God's ways? The Talmud asks elsewhere in the tractate of Sotah. If the divine presence takes the form of a cloud-encased fire, how can humans do that work? The answer the Talmud gives is that humans do this divine work through acts of loving kindness. Just as God clothes the naked, so too should we clothe the naked, we read in Sotah. Just as God visits the sick, so too should we visit the sick. Just as God consoles mourners, so too should we console mourners. Just as God buried the dead, so too should we bury the dead. The JTS Center for Pastoral Care, under the inspired leadership of its talented director, Rabbi Dr. Naomi Kalish, the Harold and Carol Wolf director of the Center for Pastoral Education, embodies this commitment, and we at JTS are so fortunate to benefit from her dedication, creativity, and passion. She understands that sacred service need not be flashy, like the fire-encased cloud, nor does it emanate from the pulpit alone. Our students are schooled in sacred service through an educational process that is uniquely grounded in the Jewish tradition while being open and relevant to people of all faiths. The center prepares its students both through the learning of relevant texts in class and through clinical service, group processing, individual goal setting, and reflection. In this way, our students develop as knowledgeable leaders, trained professionals, empathic human beings, serving with head, hands, and heart, so that they can effectively provide comfort, guidance, and support to people struggling at difficult moments of their lives. Our center has trained hundreds of chaplains working in settings that include hospitals, nursing homes, hospice care, prisons, homeless shelters, mental health facilities, the armed forces, and of course, the New York Police Department. All JTS students receive CPE training, a required part of their studies. Pastoral care skills make them better rabbis, cantors, educators, and leaders. The mission of the center has become only more urgent in the current moment when so many in our midst feel vulnerable, misunderstood, erased as Jews and as human beings. So many, including in our arena of higher education, but in society at large, are experiencing unprecedented harassment, demonization, and fear. For many, this only exacerbates serious mental health challenges that they already struggle with. And as a result, your support has become all the more crucial. We are so grateful for your commitment to our work, and I especially want to thank the devoted members of the Center for Pastoral Education Advisory Board, thank you, for their support of our initiatives. Let me close by thanking everyone for joining us today. At JTS, we are grateful for your support, and with it, we will continue to strengthen our training of the next generation of pastoral care providers, and the community will be more richly nourished as a result. It is now my honor to turn all of our attention to our distinguished and incredibly deserving honoree and keynote speaker, Chief Chaplain Rabbi Dr. Alvin Kass. I have a little more to say. It's always a special privilege to honor a JTS alumnus for outstanding contributions to the field of pastoral care. Rabbi Kass, you honor JTS every day through your work. You can all read his full bio in the program, but I'm going to just share a few highlights. Chief Chaplain Kass is the most tenured chaplain in the New York City Police Department, first appointed in 1966. For over 5 decades, he has provided invaluable, trusted counsel and spiritual guidance to officers of all ranks and to the communities they serve. Rabbi Kass earned a BA and MA from Columbia University, a PhD from New York University. He didn't travel too far. A proud alumnus of JTS, he earned a Bachelor of Hebrew Literature, a Master's of Hebrew Literature, and Rabbinic ordination. He began his career as a chaplain in the U.S. Air Force, and then went on to lead a congregation, moved a little out to one of the boroughs, of the Astoria Center of Israel in Astoria, Queens. Oh, nice. Thank you. Thank you for being here to honor him. And now we're going to get another shout out, because now I will mention the East Midwood Jewish Center, where he served for 36 years and is now Rabbi Emeritus. I knew of Rabbi Kass first by reputation, primarily through his impactful rabbinic work. He mentored countless young people who are here today. Maybe they're not as young, but they're here today because of the impact he had on them. And in this way, he helped cultivate so many future Jewish leaders. I'll confess it was only later on that I learned of his tremendous service to the NYPD, because I got to know Rabbi Kass best in a less conventional way. I got to know him as Miriam's husband. Alvin and Miriam, of blessed memory, met in the home of one of my predecessors, Chancellor Gerson D. Cohen, of blessed memory, and their love of JTS became intertwined with their love for one another. Miriam was an active JTS alumna who edited the Alumni Journal for many years. We worked together closely when I was dean of the undergraduate college, and she was president of the Alumni Association. She was a wonderful human being and a powerhouse in her own right. And my memories of you, Rabbi Kass, were as a proud and loving husband who beamed whenever Miriam was in the spotlight, something I never forgot. It is a great privilege to honor you today with the Pastoral Care Leadership Award and to hear your reflections.
Thank you so much, Chancellor Schwartz. Commissioner Tisch, ladies and gentlemen, to come back home is always a terrific honor, and I join all of you with a tremendous sense of thanksgiving and nostalgia. I want you to know that I feel very honored here today to be in the company of the spirit of a man I've admired for so many, many years, Professor Neil Gilman, the eminent philosopher and theologian. And I'm related to him because my son is married to his daughter. And it's so great. It's so great to see Neil's wife here, and Sarah. We're happy you're around. Sarah was part of that circle that shuttled between Columbia and the Jewish Theological Seminary for many, many years. And it was really a wonderful group, and it's generated so many tremendous memories, certainly in my heart and soul. You know, friends, when I was growing up, most Jewish parents wanted their children either to be doctors or lawyers. My brother was the doctor, and I was well on my way to filling the second slot. I had gotten a 3-year scholarship to Harvard Law School. I sent a check for $50 to Harvard to reserve my place in the class. 2 weeks before the semester began, I decided to become a rabbi, And I fulfilled that ambition right here in these august halls, studying with many of the greatest Judaica and Hebraica scholars in the world. When I was in my third year as a rabbi, I got the call to to become chaplain of the police department. And I called my parents to tell them. My mother answered the phone, and I said, "Mom, guess what? I've become a cop." She said, "I thought you were a rabbi." I said, "I am a rabbi. I'm a rabbi cop." "I don't understand what you are talking about. What's a rabbi cop?" Well, whatever it is, ladies and gentlemen, I've been doing it for the last 59 and a half years. But I think you can get some insight into what a police chaplain or a rabbi cop is all about by just thinking about the life of Moses. Moses was the preeminent Jewish personality, led the Israelites out of slavery from the land of Egypt, brought them through the ordeal of the wilderness. He went up to Mount Sinai, got the Torah, the fundamental law, that's the foundation of our civilization, and all he wanted was to enter into the promised land, the land of Israel. If this preeminent Jewish personality that wanted so little and was denied that request, that seems to me an indication that the Bible is trying to convey a metaphor. And that is that there are no grand solutions to the challenges of life. There's no big answer to the big question. But if there's no big answer with a capital A, there's a lot of little answers. There are moments of joy and delight and uplift along the way, but we often overlook them because we're so busy looking for that grand solution to what we think life is all about. On the eve of the Super Bowl, there was a famous football player who said, "If this is the ultimate game, then why are they going to play this game again next year?" If we could permanently and finally solve all the problems of life in one day, what would we need tomorrow for? Why would God have created tomorrow? The fact is, you can only live one day at a time. And people are constantly extracting from each day what they hope will be one day's worth of meaning. I think that Ralph Waldo Emerson said it best. Life is a series of moments. To live each one is to succeed. Nobody knows that truth better than cops. Cops go through a series of incidents each day. Some are joyful, happy, uplifting. Others are deadly, frightening, and have ominous overtones. To live a life filled with these ups and downs, with so much anxiety, and not knowing until you're actually involved in the incident what kind of situation you're getting yourself involved in, can generate a tremendous amount of stress. And that stress is what our chaplains try to relieve. They try to keep them on the right track, get them to see things in the proper perspective, and it's a wonderful way to spend your time as a chaplain being of some service to these wonderful men and women. But there are moments when that responsibility is absolutely overwhelming, agonizing, and filled with anguish. That was never more so than on 9/11, when all of our chaplains gathered together at the auditorium of police headquarters, which was divided into 23 alcoves for the 23 families which were looking for word about what had happened to the people they loved the most and hadn't heard from during the day. Every half hour, the brass from the 14th floor would come down and deliver the latest word. But they really had no news to convey. George Grasso was part of that group that came down from the 14th floor. When it finally became evident that those police officers weren't coming back, they turned to the police chaplains for support and strength. It was undoubtedly the most difficult and challenging moment of my career and that of my fellow chaplains. But even amidst such a dark moment, there is something that helps to restore our faith in humanity. You know, 9/11 took place during a year in which the Jewish High Holy Days came in early September. And I got a call from an FBI chaplain in Charleston, South Carolina. When he introduced himself, I said, "You're fortunate to be in Charleston. This is not a good day to be in New York." He said, "I am in New York." He said, "I'm part of a team of emergency workers that goes all over the country when there's some sort of crisis. We were assigned to LaGuardia Airport, where the dead bodies were brought to be laid out in empty hangars, and our task was to assist in trying to identify them. And there's a lot of Jews in the group, and they wanted to know if you would come over and conduct a Rosh Hashanah service for them." Well, of course I said I would. I got my chauffeur, brought my cantor, we went to LaGuardia Airport, and I participated in the most meaningful religious service of my entire career. I thought to myself, what an extraordinary moment that when most Jews love to be with their families, the people they love the most, to usher in the awesome period of the Jewish New Year, which always ends up with the penitential day of Yom Kippur. It's a time when you want to be with those who mean the most to you. They gave up all of that to be with strangers in a faraway place, doing something to help others. That certainly restored my faith in humanity and brought me a sense of balance. That is what I really try to help police officers to achieve when they see the dark side of life. And I try to get them to see it all within an accurate perspective on life, which has both its good times and its bad times. In my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, police officers are the greatest people who walk the earth. They get up each morning, leaving their loved ones, not knowing whether they're going to come back at night alive and well and in the same physical shape in which they left the house. People like that are individuals who belong truly to God's chosen people. And as chaplains, to be able to perform in some small way a supportive role which helps to elevate and exalt the quality of their lives is the greatest privilege that, in my opinion, can come to any human being. And I am so thankful that it is my lot in life to have been able to spend so much time in the company of the people I admire the most. I'd like to close my remarks by one more reference to Moses. You may remember that Moses, when he raised his hands wavered. But when his brother Aaron and his friend Hur supported his arms, he was able to walk straight, strong, and erect. Ladies and gentlemen, whatever it is that I may have done in life, I certainly couldn't do it alone. But I thank you so much for helping to keep my arms strong, erect, and straight. It's been a wonderful ride, and I'm very grateful to you. Thanks for coming, and God bless you all.
You know, Rabbi Kass is a very tough act to follow. And because he gives the opening prayer at all of our ceremonies, I am always in a position of following him. But here we go. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much to the Jewish Theological Seminary for hosting this most important and beautiful luncheon. This is a place I have long admired and one that holds quite a special place in my family's story. My Aunt Blanche Middleman of blessed memory not only studied here, but she also taught here and was designated an outstanding teacher of the year not once, but twice. My grandmother, Sylvia Hyatt, was also of blessed memory, was also a student here many years ago. So it is a real privilege to be here today, especially to honor someone who has been a steady, comforting presence in the NYPD for nearly 6 decades, Rabbi Alvin Kass. He is the longest-serving chaplain in the department's history, and I have been fortunate to know him across more than one chapter of my own NYPD career. And for all the wisdom that he passes on, there is one line that always stays with me. At every single police academy graduation, he offers a blessing to the women and men of the NYPD. Praying for their, and the people at the police department will know this line very well. You can recite it with me. He prays for their unceasing efforts to make New York truly a place where people of every race, religion, color, and creed can pursue their individual destinies, untrammeled, unafraid, and in obedience to thy will. He delivers it much better, but you get the idea. That vision isn't just something that he recites. It's something that Rabbi Kass lives. And it is a testament to his commitment to the cops that he serves. When you talk to NYPD officers about Rabbi Kass, a few things come up right away. He listens. He understands. He stays as long as it takes. But Rabbi Kass isn't just a chaplain. He is family. The kind who picks up the phone in the middle of the night, who shows up at scenes that most people run from, and who always seems to find the right words in the worst moments. He doesn't wait for cops to call him. He goes to them. You'll find him at precincts and roll calls checking in on our cops because he understands that trust isn't built in crisis. It's built long before. And when the worst does happen, Rabbi Kass is there to help. After September 11th, as he just told us, when families were left with nothing but grief and unanswered questions, he prayed with them and helped them feel less alone. In the weeks that followed, when everything felt hollow and broken, it wasn't speeches or sermons that made the difference. It was his presence, his actions, his quiet insistence that there was still meaning to be made and people worth standing beside. He always meets the moment, whatever it calls for. Once, that meant ending a hostage situation with a calm voice, good instincts, and a negotiation tactic only a New York rabbi would think of: pastrami on rye. A man had taken his ex-girlfriend hostage. He was armed and would not listen to anyone. The hostage negotiation team called in Rabbi Kass. He spent the night talking to the man through a wall, keeping the conversation going, trying to earn just enough trust. By morning, the man was hungry, and 2 pastrami sandwiches were brought in. Rabbi Kass knew exactly what to do with them. He offered a trade, a sandwich for the gun. The man agreed. Then came the twist. "I have a second gun," the man said. Rabbi Kass didn't flinch. He said, "Well, I have a second sandwich. You can have mine too, but you give me the second gun." The man gave it up, and the crisis was averted. To paraphrase The Godfather, leave the gun, take the pastrami. The NYPD has been so blessed to have Rabbi Kass for the past 59 years, but that almost didn't happen. As he mentioned, he had a scholarship to go to Harvard Law School and gave it up to become a rabbi instead. Good call. I went to Harvard Law School, did those whole 3 years. It cost more than $50 though now. And I never practiced law a day in my life. That choice, however, changed the course of his life and of all of ours. So how did he end up with the NYPD? He showed up to the interview with a gym bag because he was planning to squeeze in a handball game right after. The interview went fine. He left and he didn't think much of it. Years later, someone asked why he was chosen over 30 other rabbis. Then Chief of Detectives Albert Seidman put it plainly. I thought that a rabbi who plays handball would be a good fit with the NYPD. Rabbi Kass, the NYPD is so much better because of you. This city is better because of you. And everyone who has ever had the honor of knowing you is better because of you. Congratulations on today's honor, and thank you for everything.
Thank you. It's always a disappointment to me when I have to interrupt people's lively conversations. Thank you all so much for being here. You know, as a chaplain, as well as a chaplain educator, I'm always so sad when there's a room of people who are live and engaged in lively conversation. So thank you for pausing your conversations so that we can begin the next portion of our program. I'm Rabbi Naomi Kalish, and I have the honor of serving as the Harold and Carol Wolf Director of the Center for Pastoral Education. My remarks today come in between two amazing parts of today's program. I'm sandwiched in between those extraordinary remarks we heard already today and what will follow my remarks, hearing from students in our new master's program. This past December, when I was in Israel, I visited the Anu Museum of the Jewish People, and I went to an exhibit of works by artists responding to the October 7th attack and the ensuing war. The opening lines of the exhibit were the following: "It has been said that when cannons are heard, the muses are silent. The need to survive is thought to quiet ideas, thoughts, and creation. This notion seems to have turned on its head in this war, and we are experiencing an abundance of creativity in all fields. As the cannons are heard, the voices of the muses are emerging, all the more clearly from deep down in the throat." It makes us wonder, what is it in the human spirit that persists through difficult and painful times? And what kind of human connection and relationships can assist in this process? In this week's Parsha, we read about a group of people who had the mandate to care for the Israelite community in their religious and spiritual needs as they journeyed. We read about the Levi'im, specifically the Levites. We read the verse in which God tells Moses, "Kach et ha-Levi'im mitoch b'nei Yisrael v'titharta otam." Take the Levites from among the Israelites and purify them, by which the Torah means prepare them for this service. In this verse, there are two words which caught my attention. The first is the word Levi, Levite itself. The etymology tells us something about what it means to play this role of tending to the spiritual needs of people during their life journeys. In a later chapter, we read a verse which helps us understand the meaning of this word etymologically, in which Adonai says to Aaron regarding the Levites, "V'nilvu elecha," you shall be attached to them. Or sometimes the word is translated not attached, but accompany them. You shall accompany them. And this is the same root which is also used for the Hebrew word for funeral, levaya, which literally means accompany people at their time of death to the grave. The way we honor, support, comfort, and serve as a healing presence is by accompanying. When our colleagues in Israel were trying to find a word in Hebrew for the word chaplain, they developed the expression livui ruchani, spiritual accompaniment. So another manifestation of this word Levi. The second word in our pasuk, in our verse from this week's Torah reading, is the word kach, take. What does it mean to take the Levites for this special service? Now, the commentators were very concerned that this not be interpreted as a physical taking, or we're not forcing people into spiritual leadership. So what does it mean? Rashi, one of the most famous commentators, wrote that it means take them or convince them with your words, like you could share the verse with them. Happy are you who have the privilege to serve the Hamakom, the omnipresent one, to serve God. I wonder if this word take means take in people for service. Take them into a training program. Take them into a profession. Create a space for a community of caregivers. JTS has a history, a long history of innovation in exactly this, in preparing people for religious and spiritual leadership to accompany people throughout their lives and especially during distressing times. In our chaplaincy and pastoral and spiritual care education program, we have also over the years shown innovation in sending chaplains sometimes into places where there have not been chaplains before. We've innovated over the years placements in social service agencies that serve seniors. This past couple years, we innovated a program called CPE at Camp, sending chaplains into Jewish summer camps, helping provide extra support during the youth mental health crisis, which we are experiencing. And today's program, in which we heard so movingly about Rabbi Kass, about your leadership, hearing from you, and about you, I was also reminded of an innovation, of an initiative 2 years ago in which we, JTS, organized a cadre of chaplains to go to the courthouse in Pittsburgh to serve as chaplains during the trial of the terrible attack on the Tree of Life buildings. During that time, I met with and came to know people who were survivors of the attack and people who were bereaved from the attack. And I also met many first responders who were there to testify, to support, and also to make sense of what had happened for themselves. It was just a glimpse into the extraordinary work we heard about today, which you, Rabbi Kass, and your colleagues dedicate your lives to. This year is JTS's 71st year in offering coursework in pastoral or spiritual care and counseling. And this year, we became the first Jewish institution to offer a master's in spiritual care and counseling. In this launch year, 23 students enrolled in either the master's or the certificate in spiritual care and counseling. 6 of those students were duly enrolled in the rabbinical school, as this master's serves as one of the possible masters meeting the requirements for graduation and ordination as rabbis. Due to advanced standing, history will record 2025 as the year when JTS conferred the first degrees to, and they went to Rabbi Sass Brown and Rabbi Rebecca Gallen. They will bring their advanced training in spiritual care and counseling to their rabbinates in the variety of different rabbinic settings in which they will serve. In addition to expanding our offerings for clergy students, the new MA dramatically expands the reach of this program and the possibility to serve in chaplaincy capacities to people who seek to enter chaplaincy or to experience to go through a career shift or a career enhancement that is in other professional areas beyond the ordained clergy roles. Within the MA, we welcomed 17 new students this year to JTS, ranging in age from 25 to 80 for our first class, and with a variety of professional backgrounds. We developed a curriculum which, in consultation with these certifying associations, so that our students can become board-certified chaplains. You will be hearing in a few minutes more about this program in a panel of students moderated by Dr. Lisa Springer, the Dean of the new Division for Lifelong and Professional Studies. Dr. Springer also brings her expertise in higher education and innovation and played a pivotal role in the design and the implementation of this program. At the center, we also continue the work that we have long done in offering the supervised internships in clinical pastoral education, CPE, placing students in varieties of different contexts to serve as chaplains. and to participate in a supervision class in which they reflect on their experience. This year, 46 students enrolled in our CPE program. As was mentioned earlier, they come from diverse religious backgrounds. We have students from across the Jewish community, as well as people from diverse religious backgrounds. Of course, all of these programs I'm mentioning are offered and students study, and we engage with one another at this particular point of history. With great divisiveness, locally, nationally, and globally, with rising hate and concerns about safety, with continuing mental health concerns, and with so much more, we have structured our programs to provide a space and a curriculum for students to engage in questions and reflections about what it means to serve as a religious leader during these times. We've partnered with colleagues in Israel to explore trauma-informed approaches to care. We've provided supportive programs for our colleagues in Israel who are providing spiritual care, and also invited and worked with them as they've come here to the United States to help us reflect on what it means for us to address these challenges locally. All of this happens, and today's event happened, because of the extraordinary dedication of people throughout the Jewish Theological Seminary. I'd like to briefly thank the faculty, the administration, the staff, the advisory board. I'd like to thank our students who entrusted their learning and their growth in our program. I'd like to thank our many hundreds, even possibly thousands of partners in those internships who host our students in their clinical sites. And I'd like to thank all of the people, the patients, the care recipients who receive the care of our students for entrusting their care in us. May we find strength, support, and success in continuing to take in and prepare people for this holy work. At this point, it's my pleasure to turn our program to the people who are the life in the program, those who have come to join us in the study of spiritual care and counseling. We will first hear from Rabbi Chazan Jerry Blum, who will share a few pieces of music with us. And following Rabbi Cantor Blum, we will hear a panel facilitated by Dr. Springer. Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank Rabbi Kalish for the kind words and to tell you how honored I am to be here today. I am a Rabbi Chazan. I was the first to become a musmach, both as a Chazan and as a rabbi from AJR. I see a few colleagues out here. And one of the reasons that I came to JTS was specifically because every day what I do as a congregational rabbi is teach Torah. I'm sad that as of yet no one has asked me to count their bugs in their broccoli, but I don't do that. What I do, what my bread and butter is every day is Torah, is prayer, and is pastoral counseling. It's 95% of what I do, and it's important that we continue learning. It's important that we continue honing our skills, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm grateful today. One of the things that we do when we visit people in need of spiritual care, is to go to prayers, to go to our psalms. And today I've chosen a psalm and a prayer that I believe speak to what we do. how we bring care, how we bring comfort. The first Shir LaMa'alot, Esai Enai, is one that is particularly important to me because each time when we look up, we say, who is going to help me? And our help comes from God. Our help comes from our sense of faith. And the words speak for themselves. Shir LaMa'alot Esai Enai el Harim Me'ayin yavo Ezri me'im Hashem Oseh shamayim va'aretz Al yiten lamot raglecha Al yanum shomrecha Hine lo yanum V'lo yishan shomer Yisrael Hashem shomrecha Hashem shilcha Hayad yeminecha Yomam Hashemesh la yakeka V'yareach b'layla Hashem yishmorcha mikol ra Yishmor et nafshecha Hashem yishmor tzedcha u'roecha Ve'ata v'yad olam Hashem shomrecha, Hashem zilcha, Hayad yeminecha. Yomam Hashemesh la yakeka, V'yareach b'layla. Hashem yimshorcha mikol ra, Yishmor et nafshecha. Hashem yishmor tzedcha u'roecha me'ata v'yad olam. I'm glad that my instructor from on prayers here today, so you could get me if I'm right or wrong here. But at the end of the Amidah, we have a grouping of prayers that we're told and taught that at that moment we can add our own. We enhance our own prayership by adding what is actually in our heart, allowing that kol demamadaka, that still small voice to speak. And then we add a verse or two that says, I hope that my words are acceptable to you, Adonai. I hope that you heard them because it's what I need. And if you could sing along, that would be lovely too. La 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 la. La
razzoni brevi di forever Adonai Tzuri Vero Ali Tzuri Vero Ali Ose Shalom Ose Shalom Birama Yase Shalom V'yakol Yisrael V'yakol Yoshvei Tevel La 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 la
Let's see. Okay, great. So now we get to hear from students in the program. I'm so excited to moderate. I'm Lisa Springer, the Dean of the Division of Lifelong and Professional Studies. So thank you so much for being here and talking to this group. My first question is, can you just talk about your background and what drew you to spiritual care? Sarah, why don't you start?
Thank you so much. So about during the pandemic, I really wanted to do work that would be spiritually and emotionally deep, and I wanted to be able to help people in a very deep way. I was working as an arts integration specialist and arts administrator, and I did that work for 16 years. And I looked for a program, and I didn't find one because this program, the JTS Masters in Spiritual Care and Pastoral Counseling, didn't exist yet. But I dove right into CPE, and I completed 4 units of CPE at MedStar Georgetown University Hospital. I started that journey in 2021, and then this July, I started as the transplant staff chaplain at the same place. And I started as well this master's at the same time, and I'm very grateful to have done that. I'm also a poet and publish poetry in literary magazines, and I'm also a clergy wife, and for the past 19 years have been supporting congregants during Shiva, and actually many years after Shiva, emotionally and spiritually, and so that's what drew me to the work.
Great, thank you. Matthew.
Sure. Hi. So before I joined the spiritual care and counseling program, I was, and I still am, a high school English teacher in central Massachusetts. I teach at Eagle Hills School, which is a residential school for students in grades 8 through 12 with diagnosed learning disabilities. And I've been there for 14 years now. And I think post-pandemic and after the first 4 years of the Trump presidency and October 7th, kids took notice that the world is falling apart and they have questions. And I felt that along with being an English teacher, I could better serve the school if I became an interfaith chaplain. And so I did my research, and I found this program online, and that's how I came to know Rabbi Kass and JTS. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Patrick.
Thank you. I think similar to Sarah, I come from an art background. I was always really interested in the potential of art and creativity as a therapeutic device, and yeah, that's always been a guiding force, really. I also converted to Judaism 10 years ago, and through that process, really started to consider the primacy in Jewish tradition, anyway, of kindness, visiting the sick, all the big mitzvot of Judaism I really engaged with very early on, and it's a very long story, but that's what led me to this kind of work, actually through Rabbi Michal Springer, initially meeting her for a coffee here, also about 10 years ago when I first moved to the US, and also through a friend who's here as well, Rabbi Melanie Levav, was very inspirational in making me think about end-of-life care through a Jewish lens in her work with the Shomer Collective.
Great, thank you all. One thing with online classes, online programs, is people think that people don't make such strong connections. And I've been so impressed with how close you've become to each other. So can you speak a little bit about those relationships and what they mean to you? And I'll start with you this time, Matthew.
Oh, yeah, sure. So I will say, and this is really not an overstatement, I've met some of my most dearest friends through the JTS Spiritual Care and Counseling program. Not long after I started the program, my mother died unexpectedly. And it was actually right before I took Death, Dying, and Bereavement with Linda Golding. And so the timing was perfect. But I met Rabbi Jerry and Patrick and Sarah and others, and there was such an outpouring of condolences and phone calls and cards and late night conversations beyond our classes. And I felt, if you're going to lose a parent unexpectedly, you definitely should have a core group of friends. And my JTS cohort became more important to me than the colleagues I have where I teach. Not that they weren't helpful too, but I came to rely on my JTS cohort to see me through. And I think also I've been able to help see a lot of them through difficult times that they've had. It's amazing how many difficult things can happen to a group of people over the course of a year. But I think that's, you know, a huge benefit is that we're there for each other.
Great, thank you for sharing that. Sarah.
So some of the things that helped us connect, one thing at least for me really was the chat feature, the fact that if somebody commented, I could respond directly to them. So I feel like that's what started it off. And also, of course, other aspects of the course, but also some of the curriculum as well. In Soren Glassing's class on texts, art, and music of comfort to use in spiritual care, we ended up reading a psychoanalytic Jungian book on the shadow self. And then when we came to class, we ended up doing a meditation to, as he said, meet our demon. And so we did this together. And what came out of it was that the shadow self yearns to be accepted, included, loved, rather than spurned, which is what creates the shadow, that it's rejected. And so because we had those kind of deep conversations about things that people usually don't talk about, it really kind of opened up for us this place of acceptance within ourselves. And then we dove into many other subjects that also were pretty profound, and so it just continued that way.
Great, thank you.
I think everything that they just said, but it's really, we really did bond from day one, I think, especially over, as Sarah said, over artwork and what it meant to us. It was this kind of, actually the immediacy of it being virtual to some extent. There's no replacement for being in person, of course, but there was something that really worked about the intimacy of being able to, like Sarah said, to be able to chat on Zoom while the main conversation's happening, being able to take notes and share them with each other afterwards. And also I'd say just things like how much we've all been able to collaborate through group work, the assignments of being encouraged to work together outside of class on group presentations around specific subjects has been a really special place where we've just sort of got to know each other in a different dynamic outside of the bigger group. And I've had the real pleasure of working and getting to know people on a completely different level through that process.
I've been really struck with how close you are to each other and how much affection and respect you have for each other just in the short time I've gotten to know you. And it's been such an honor to be part of the program and to learn about chaplaincy. After my first meeting with Rabbi Kass and some people in the profession, I left the meeting feeling very calm, and I wondered why that was, and then I realized it was everyone in that meeting had listened to each other, which is not such a common experience, and I feel that with each of you and how you relate to each other. So I really appreciate that. When I've spoken with you and other students in the program, the word transformation comes up a lot. So I wanted each of you to speak to what you mean when you say transformation in terms of the program. And we'll start with you this time, Patrick.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I mentioned converting. I mean, that's what it makes me think about transformation in that very obvious kind of formal way. But also, this program has really helped me kind of process how I can help other people at often difficult, challenging crossroads, thresholds in their lives, whether that's in a grieving situation or otherwise. But yeah, I think it's transformation. We're all in this process of transformation all the time, and we've all had so many careers. I'm aware I'm speaking in front of a rabbi cop who almost went to law school as well. So I feel like we've all just been in this continual process where we're helping each other transform through these classes, through these projects we work on together, and through the CPE. I don't think we've mentioned that yet, but through the clinical pastoral education. That's in a nutshell been the most transformative experience for me, because it's been like a space for group therapy as chaplains, where we can talk about self-care and we can remind ourselves to take a break from the work we're doing when we need to.
Can you just describe the CPE?
Yeah, so it's the part I was referring to is that we meet once a week for a 4-hour class to really process the work we're doing in a clinical setting. So in a real life work experience place. I'm working in a residential care home right now, and yeah, I'll let the others mention if they want to where else we have people placed.
Go ahead, Matthew.
Yeah, so I'll talk about one professional transformation and one personal really quickly. Professionally, I have found that even in the past year, the conversations that I have regularly with my students have not changed. I mean, but the way in which I go about talking to my students has changed considerably. Maybe I'm more patient. Maybe I'm more thoughtful. Maybe I, rush into conversations less and think with my heart more. So I think that I'm having the same conversations, but I'm doing these with more confidence too. Like, okay, now that I've had a year and will eventually have 2 years, of pastoral, care and education, I'll be able to go into these, conversations more ready. I mean, so I don't, as in a residential school, right, I'm not just in my classroom, I'm in the dorms on, weeknight evenings, on weekends. I'm having 3 meals a day with my students. I am everywhere at that school, and I have been for a long time. So the conversations I have, I think, have become easier. Personally, a lot has changed. So while taking the death, dying, and bereavement class, Linda had us read several articles on Chevra Kadisha and Tahara, and I had never heard of either of these things. And reading the articles and having the conversations with Linda and my peers, I was like, this is something I feel I should be doing. And so I Googled it, and I found North Shore Chevra Kadisha, which is, in the suburbs of Boston, and I reached out to them, and on July 17th, I'm going to go meet up with this group of people, and I'm going to learn how to do the ceremony, and I feel like, I can be a teacher, but I can also do these other, really important Jewish things that I feel called to do, and it's strengthening my identity as a Jewish person, which is something that I have been craving for my whole life. And so I think, aside from just the education, I'm changing as a person, and so I like that.
Sarah?
So my motto as a chaplain is that everybody is created in the image of God, and that means that everybody is equal to me and to everybody else, and that's pretty transformational for our society, which is very hierarchical. And I look at my work as a chaplain each time I listen actively to somebody, and I'm just present with them, but it's an act of love. And to me, that's very transformational. And then when I used to cry about myself. And now when I cry, it's wider. It's for my patients. It's for humanity. And through this process, CPE, spiritual care, and pastoral counseling, and my work doing clinical work as a chaplain, I realized that it's expanded my emotional capacity and spiritual capacity to really care, and that's very powerful, to have grief about humanity. So that is very transformational. Instead of just grief, that's personal.
Great. So thank you so much to all three of you, and it's really just amazing to hear your experiences. We appreciate you coming from far to be here in person. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our panelists. That was fantastic. We only have a couple more items, and they will go very, very quickly, so we appreciate your patience. The next one is Birkat HaMazon, the grace after meals, a chance to express our gratitude to God for this fabulous meal. I bear the message of regret from Professor Mel Skult, a dear friend of yours, Rabbi Kass, who wanted to be here today but was feeling under the weather. And so I will be the Birkat HaMazon in his stead, but please know he wanted to be here to celebrate you. There are some blue booklets out on the table. You can follow along on page 62 for Birkat HaMazon. Rabotai Nevarech. Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach Me'atav Yerolam Birshut Chaverai Nevarech Eloheinu Shel Chanu Mishalo Baruch Eloheinu Shel Chanu Mishalo Tuvo Chayinu Baruch V'ruch Shemo Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Hazan et HaOlam Kulo B'tuvo B'chein B'chesed U'vrachamim Hu noten lechem lechol basar ki leolam chasto Uvtuvo hagadol Tamid lo chasar lanu ve'al yachsar lanu Mazon leolam va'ed ba'avor shemo hagadol Ki welzan umfarnes lakol Umetiv lakol umechin mazon lechol priotav Asher bara Baruch atah Adonai Hazan et hakol. Nodeh lecha, Adonai Eloheinu al shinchalta lavotenu, eretz chemda tova ruchava, brit v'torah, chaim umazon. Yitbarach shimcha befi chochai tamid leolam va'ed. Kakatu v'yalchalta v'savata uveirachta et Adonai Elohecha. Al haaretz hatova asher natan lach, baruch ata Adonai. Al haaretz v'al hamazon. Uvnei Yerushalayim, ir hakodesh b'minra v'yameinu, baruch ata Adonai. Bo'oneh v'rachamav Yerushalayim, amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamelech hatov ha'meitiv lakol, hu eitiv u'meitiv hu yeitiv lanu, hu gmal lanu hu gomlenu hu yigmal lenu la'ad, chen v'chesed v'rachamim v'yizakenu limot ha'mashiach. Harachaman yivarech et ha'aretz hazot v'yagen aleha. Harachaman yivarech et achenu b'nei Yisrael hanetunim b'tzara v'yotziim me'afela le'ora. Harachaman yivarech et medinat Yisrael reshit tzmichat gulatenu. And then we're going to skip ahead now to the end of page 67. V'nisaverach kamiet Adonai utztaka meloei yeshenu v'nimtzachen v'sechel tov b'nei Elohim v'adam. Oseh shalom b'mramav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru. Amen. It is now my privilege to introduce Arlene Duker, a member of our Center for Pastoral Education Advisory Boards, for some closing remarks.
Thanks, and I'll keep it short. Okay. As a member of the advisory board for the Center for Pastoral Education since its founding in 2013, I am so very pleased to be here with so many of you to support this very important work. To be more accurate, however, I would say that the actual presence and practice of pastoral work here at JTS has been going on for much longer without formal recognition. My unofficial connection began in 1996, 29 years ago, when a group of JTS rabbinical students were studying in Israel for the year with their classmate, Matt Eisenfeld. Matt's fiancée, my daughter Sarah, was also in Israel, engaged, working on a research project with Hebrew University Life Sciences on the salt-loving bacteria of the Dead Sea. Without warning, one day, a bomb planted on the bus that they were riding took their lives along with 23 other people. Somehow, several of their fellow students and friends found a way to come back to the U.S. during Shiva to be with our family, with Len and Vicki Eisenfeld, to share memories and to comfort us with their presence when they too must have been in shock and grieving. If there are people born to do this work, my family and I have met a few of them, and thankfully, I'm sure there are many more in this room right now. Because all these years later, we are fortunate to have a program like this that provides support for the caregivers. Today, I'm honored to be here to support the life-changing work of this center. Our support, all of ours, and our presence here today is more and more important in these times. With a world filled with trauma here at home and certainly in Israel, we need spiritual leaders to know how to act with compassion, provide hope and comfort when and where it is desperately needed. These skills can be learned and developed, and here at the Center for Pastoral Education, clergy of all denominations and religions can benefit from developing these ways to practice healing. So I'm grateful, and I thank all of you for being here today to honor Rabbi Kass, who exemplifies the healing work of the center, And to all of you here today, thank you for your generous support, because you're enabling us all to continue the mission of supporting skilled and dedicated spiritual leaders. We all know how desperately we need them in these times.